So we're going to talk about vinyl or records or vinyl records, however you want to refer to them. So vinyl records have been around since the 1800s. Your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents were probably all kicking it to records, and that was no exception in the 80s. The 80s was definitely still all about records. Probably every kid, probably every kid's family had a record player in their home growing up. So pretty common, and records were actually still being manufactured and sold to a very big audience up until the 90s. So a couple types of records in the 80s were the 33s and the 45s. 33s and 45s refer to RPMs, or rotations per minute. So the bigger albums were 33 and a third to be technical, whereas the smaller 45s were generally for singles, with the B-side being a lesser known song. So full-length albums, like this amazing one by Michael Jackson, were usually 33s. And the albums themselves were really works of art, just beautiful cover art, lots of space for design, the liner notes. They would have even some illustrations. This is Michael Jackson's illustration of the monster and Thriller. So how did you play these records? Really easy. You just put them on a record player, put the needle on the record, and you're good to go. So records were pretty freaking awesome, and everybody usually had a killer stereo system. Records were really sensitive to vibration. So you're having a dance party, you're shaking your booty, one too many jumps, and the record could skip, which means that the needle would jump from one place on the record to the other, thus interrupting the flow. So the other thing is, records are physically very sensitive. I'm holding it incorrectly. You're actually supposed to be holding it like this on the edges. Records were very sensitive to smudges or scratches, which again would cause the needle to jump or skip. Okay, so you have these amazing albums. They're totally cool. You've got this beautiful cover art. You've got these beautiful big liner notes with all the lyrics. But the problem is that this type of product is really sensitive, right? It's sensitive to scratches or smudges. You can't really take the record player out. It usually requires a power cord, so you can't take it with you. So as a result, tape cassettes started to be the new big thing. So now we talk about cassettes. Cassettes came out in the 60s with the rise, portable cassettes came out in the 60s with the rise of portable tape recorders. But it wasn't until the mid-70s and 80s that cassettes really started to blow up. Why did they blow up? So cassettes are a portable way of carrying music and sharing music. You can take the tapes with you. You could buy complete albums off cassettes or singles on the single. On blank tapes, you could record yourself singing or rapping. You could record music off of tapes or records, or you could record songs off of the radio, although this could be a bit of a time-consuming process. Hello?
Hi, WIL.
Can I please hear Talking in Your Sleep by the Romantics?
Yeah, and who's this?
This is L.Ariel from Los Angeles.
Large pepperoni pizza for only $5. There's no waiting. It's hot and ready when you are, all day, every day. Only at Little Caesars. I'm going to give you 2 pizzas, too, from Little Caesars since you're my first request tonight.
When you close your eyes and you go to sleep.
So blank tapes were really a revolution because now you didn't have to buy entire albums. You could create your own playlist. Remember, this is before Spotify. This is before iTunes, when you could just buy singles. Generally, you had to buy entire albums. You could buy the single, but with blank tapes, you got to create your own mixtape. You got to create your own playlist. With a mixtape, your playlist is in one physical device ready to go. Now, it still took effort to create a mixtape because you had to tape songs off the radio, off another tape, off of another record, and it was a time-consuming process. So that's why when you got a mixtape from someone, it was a really big deal.
The making of a great compilation tape. Light breaking up is hard to do and takes ages longer than it might seem. You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch. But you don't want to blow your wad, so then you got to cool it off a notch. There are a lot of rules. Anyway, I've started to make a tape in my head for Laura. Full of stuff she'd like. Full of stuff that would make her happy. For the first time, I can sort of see how that's done.
I believe when I fall in love with you, it won't be forever.
Cassettes were cool, but there were issues like this. Or sure, you can rewind or fast forward, but you never knew where the actual song was.
Oh, we're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. Get straight. Go forward.
So now we're on to another music product in the 80s, CDs.
And what you've just been listening to is the ultimate in recorded sound. It will make all conventional disc and cassette systems obsolete. It's dustproof, scratch-proof, digitally recorded, read by a laser, and it's called the compact disc. And that's it. The biggest revolution in the recording industry since the invention of the long-playing gramophone record, but this is no ordinary disc, just 12 centimeters in diameter. The music is recorded onto it digitally, and there's no needle being dragged through a groove. That information is being read by a laser light.
So CDs were kind of the compromise between vinyl records and tape cassettes. On a CD, like a vinyl record, you could simply go from track to track without having to fast forward or rewind. It was all electronic. You just hit the next button or the back button to go from track to track. However, CDs and CD players were really expensive. The first CD player was nearly $1,000, so think iPhone X, but this is back in the 80s. So generally it was highfalutin music lovers or very wealthy audiophiles who were buying CDs, and generally it was hard to find CDs because so few people could afford them.
What? Can't find compact discs? Come to Digitals now.
Artists started getting in on the game and re-releasing their albums as box sets. Again, super expensive, but amazing experience for people to hear their favorite artist songs in better quality audio. David Bowie released, or I should say re-released, all of his albums in the mid-80s in a box set. The Beatles re-released their first 4 albums in a box set. It was a very big deal. CDs eventually started to blow up when they introduced the Discman, which is like the Walkman, so more portable. But it wasn't actually until the 90s that CDs completely took over the market, and another reason for that was CDRs, or recordable CDs. Because again, it's all about the mixtape, and you want to be able to make your own mixtape on a CD. So I hope you enjoyed this video all about how people listen to music in the 80s. Stay tuned for more videos. We're going to be talking more about products that people use to play music, to share music, how music blew up in the 80s. You can like, subscribe, and share. I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. And if you want to check out some of my music, you can do that at my website, L.Arielmusic.com. That's L.Arielmusic.com.